This is Paulet Downey, and I'm back again with a skincare minute. This segment is going to be on aging skin. We're going to start off by just talking about aging skin and how we can care for it, the various ways that we can care for aging skin. Let's start with intrinsic aging. So, intrinsic aging is biological aging, chronological aging, anything to do with the time. There's nothing you can do to reverse that. There's nothing you can do to change that. It's just we age as time goes by. Of course, we age differently depending on our DNA, but we will eventually age. It's chronological, it's intrinsic, it's something that cannot be stopped. As we get older, we age, from gravity and just time. Extrinsic aging, photo aging, environmental aging. So that has everything to do with what's going on in the environment. And with intrinsic aging, it makes up 30% of how we age, like how we see aging on our skin. So it makes up 30% of that. For extrinsic aging, I always have a problem with this one. Extrinsic aging. So with that one, like I said, it's external. It's everything coming at us. So it has everything to do with the sun being the number one. I'll go into that in a moment. But also it has to do with pollution. It has to do with all the things that are in the environment that are coming at us. It has to do with our lifestyle, how we eat, drinks, smoke, hygiene, how we care for our skin, the products that we use, stress levels. It has everything to do with, like I said, lifestyle, how we live, what we take in. And of course, with external aging, photo aging, environmental aging, it's 70% of how we age, and the majority of that comes from the sun. So with the sun, of course, there are many different ways in which we can age. For the sun, I'm going to go briefly into this. I know I've talked about this on a previous a segment of a skincare minute, but I just feel that this is so important, and it's something that we really need to always hit home. So with the sun, of course, we have the UVAs. So that's basically ultraviolet aging. So it's pretty clear, ultraviolet aging. So the rays, those are the rays that penetrate deep into the skin, hitting the dermis and damaging the collagen and the elastin that is in the dermis. And the collagen is what supports the skin, gives it its plump and its strength and its tugor. And so with the UVA rays, going right into the dermis, into the middle layers of the dermis, with continued exposure to that, that's going to do the whole wear and tear of the skin, causing it to age prematurely if we're not using sunscreen. So then there's UVBs. So UVBs, of course, they burn the skin, so it's not penetrating as deep into the skin as UVAs. It's more superficial on the epidermis levels of the skin. So that's what's causing the burning. Both UVA, UVB cause cancer. UVA also causes a lot of photo damage, which I'm going to talk about as well as we move along in this segment. So UVA, UVB, I mentioned, and also. Oh, okay. So also I want to mention about incidental UV rays or UV exposure. So incidental exposure to UVs. UVAs and UVB, well, more so UVA. This happens, of course, when you are inside and, like you're sitting beside a window and even if the sun isn't on your skin, even if it's raining, we are exposed to incidental exposure to UV. So we're just sitting, we're reading a book, could be on a nice rainy day, we're sitting beside the window, and we are exposed. We are exposed even through like things like lighting, like the lighting that we have in our homes. Incidental exposure also means like going into your car, coming out of your car, going to work, walking for 5 to 10 minutes. So it's anything that is like you're not exposed directly to the sun exposure, but it's for a certain amount of time. So that's when we're dealing with incidental exposure to UVAs and UVBs. And like I said, that is the major cause of aging prematurely. And that is in the whole photo aging, and that is part of the 70%. So the chunk of that is actually from the sun. So of course it's important that we use a sunscreen every single day, even when we don't go out, to try and help us age slower. And so anyway, so now that I was talking about, so now I'm going to move along to external. So now we're going to talk about, okay, so what exactly happens when we begin to age? What exactly are we looking for? What signs are there? So one of the first signs, okay, so I'm going to talk about basically what happens to the skin. So as we begin to age, and I'm going to put this to 30 and onward. So what we see a decrease in the oils that we have in our skin. We have a decrease of hydration that we have in our skin. Our immune system, the immunity for the skin, which helps to fight off bacteria, helps to heal the skin at a fast pace, or at a fast pace. That all begins to slow down once we kick into our 30s. So that is one of the things that happens, of course. And so so we have that, and then we also have lines, which happen at 30. Actually, these things are really happening before 30. 30 is just kind of like like, how can I put it? 30 is more like it's an accumulation of what has already been taking place, and it becomes more obvious in our 30s. So in your 20s, these things are actually happening, but depending once again on the DNA and how we age and how we are caring for our skin, and the whole environmental aging. It can happen. Well, it is happening at 20s, or in our 20s, for some faster than others. But in our 20s, you're not going to see it. For the majority of people in their 20s, you will not see the signs of aging, unless, of course, they're like partying all the time, living a really reckless and careless life. Then you may see it on someone in their 20s. You may, and of course that depends on the DNA as well. But when we are going into our 30s, and depending how the skin has been cared for, you can begin to see the signs of aging on some people. For me, simply because I do what I do, I can tell when I'm dealing with women, more so than men, in their 30s, simply because there's certain telltales of what's going on in the skin in when we are in our 30s. So that's when, like I said, you usually do begin to see the signs of aging, whereas in your 20s, you usually don't. But for some people, again, DNA, they can go into their 30s. Some of them can go even well into their 40s, and you're not going to see it. So things are happening when, like even before that, but the accumulation of it really begins in our 30s. So that's when we really start to see things happening with the skin. So one of the major things that happens with the skin, of course, also another thing, the melanocytes. So the melanocytes that are melanin that is protecting our skin from UVA rays, UVB rays, that is helping to protect it by, of course, forming a tan. The melanocytes begin to decrease as well. So as those cells, they begin to decrease. But what happens is that they also then the spots, or should I say, that have accumulated on our face for not caring for it, they become larger. So they become larger. So even though the melanocytes, they decrease, so they decrease in the production, but they increase in size. So as they're increasing in size, and they are coming to the skin, it's surfacing more and more. Another thing is the regeneration of the skin begins to slow down when we get into our late 20s. So normally in your 20s, you're going to have a regeneration, a renewal of cells every 28 days. And that begins to decrease. And so it goes up. So it's more than 28 days before the skin starts to renew. So from the basal level of the skin, right up to the epidermis, right up to the top level, the stratum corneum. It takes 28 days for a woman in her 20s to see a renewal of cells. But when we're going into our late 20s and early, and then 30 onwards, then that begins to decrease. The turnover begins to decrease. And so the cells that are coming from a basal level, moving up to the stratum corneum, it's taking more than 28 days for the renewal of those cells. And because of that, because our skin is not renewing at the pace that it was, that is another cause of how we age. So as a result of that, okay, so what happens? What happens? So we begin to see signs on our skin, the signs of aging. So when we begin to see signs of aging, it first shows up in the eye area. So that is the first area in which the signs of aging shows up. So what happens is when this fine lines, pretty well superficial at this point, basically when you are laughing, then it will show up. So like if you smile, if you laugh, then the fine lines will show up. And that is the first signs of aging. That's the thinnest area of skin, the thinnest area of skin on the face, as well as very little oil glands around that area to help, keep it, to help keep it moist and to keep it from aging. So as a result, that's why the thinness and not enough oil. That's what causes it to age the fastest. So after that, so it's just fine lines, very superficial. For some women in their 30s, you're going to start to see the frown lines. And that's from expressions. The expressions laughing. Those who laugh a lot, those who are very animated, then that's going to happen. But again, very superficial, nothing, like it's nothing permanent at that stage in the 30s. Depending if the lady is a smoker or not, you may start to see some fine lines accumulate around the upper lip area. So that's what's going to happen. Also, in your 30s, glycation does happen to the skin, but it is very minimal. But at that point, the skin does begin to start to sag. Trying to think of a better word, but I can't. I know there is one, a sag, but in your 30s, I mean, it is not sagging, but the glycation of the skin, of the dropping, of the firmness that it had in its 20s, the plumpness that it had in its 20s, is slowly inflating when you get into your 30s. It's still plump in your 30s, still plump. We're not talking about any kind of folds in your 30s, but you can see the beginnings of the loosening of the skin when you are in your 30s. So when we are moving along into our 40s, basically what happens is everything that has already happened is now becoming more obvious. So the lines are becoming more obvious. What's even happening up here, like on the lids, they are beginning to droop, not completely, but the laxity of them, it's becoming more lax than it was. So it's still quite firm in your 30s. In your 40s, you are beginning to see the skin just fall a little bit more in your 40s. So the eye area, the crow's feet become more knowledgeable, I mean, more obvious in your 40s. Although in your 30s, you do have crow's feet as well when you laugh, but they disappear when you don't laugh. And so this is not for everyone. Like I said, it depends on so many factors. But I'm just saying, when the signs of aging happens, that's where it's going to happen first. It's going to be superficial lines, usually when you laugh, expressions, like if you're an animated person with your face, then you're going to see these types of, like signs of aging. Not for everybody with the forehead, but for some with the forehead as well. Also, Gilbert lines here, the number 11s right here between the eyes, between the orbital eye area. I can always say that. I don't know why I'm not saying it now, but yes. So the number 11s also show up, but it is at this point very superficial. If it shows up at all in your 30s, for some it does, but it's superficial. It's not there permanently. It's just, again, when you do certain expressions, but nothing's permanent. When we're moving into our 40s, it's becoming more permanent. So again, things like, the lines are becoming more permanent, but not etched into the skin in your 40s. So the lines are going to become more pronounced. When we are in our 40s, we're going to see the glycation of the skin increase. Sagging of the skin increases. At this point, some women you are going to start to see, as I am illustrating with myself, these labial folds beginning to happen at the age of 40. Those are beginning to happen at that age as well. The crow's feet are increased, like it's becoming more permanent, not etched in the skin, but when you laugh, when you smile, it is there. Lines under the eyes, again, there's more permanence, but not etched. Like it's not permanent, but it is more apparent than it was when we are in our 30s. So that's another thing that happens. Again, with those with the upper lip, it depends again on the lifestyle. The lines are becoming more apparent at that point. Here, around here, we have the bunny lines when we smile. So this is what's happening. This is what's taking place in our 40s. Of course, we have the, like I said, the lines, the frown lines, becoming more obvious in our 40s. For some, it's beginning to become more permanent in our 40s, but again, not for everyone. So that is what's taking place when we are getting into our 40s. Skin is becoming increasingly dry. um, Dehydration at this point. For some, depending on if they were using sunscreen or not. This is at this age is when you start to see age spots. So this is the time in our 40s for many, depending on how they cared for their skin when they were in their 20s. So basically, how you care for your skin in your 20s and 30s is the skin you're going to have in your 40s and 50s. Age spots. That's when you really begin to see the signs of age spots. So those age spots that were dormant in your skin in your 20s and in your 30s, they have now made an upward appearance on to the surface of your face. So now you're beginning to see more of those, because of the sun, and primarily because of the sun, but so many other things go into play as well. But that's what's happening happening with the skin when we are in our 40s. When we begin, like when we are moving into our 50s, this is when everything becomes more permanent. So, of course, you have the marionette lines, and so this is from right here at the top of the corners of the lip, going all the way down to here. So you have those taking place. The nasolabial folds become more deep, more obvious, more apparent. Glycation begins to happen at this point. You can see the aging taking place because of the laxticity. I can't speak, of the skin, and so the skin is just becoming more lax. It's becoming more lax. It's beginning to drop. Also depends on your diet as well. That can play an important part, an important role in how lax the skin becomes. But you are going to begin to see that even in the jaw area as well, also becoming more lax when we are getting into our 50s. Things are becoming more permanent around here. Of the like lines are becoming more permanent. Crow's feet are becoming more permanent, more permanently etched. So this is happening even so these lines that I am now talking about, these happen, they become more permanent. So even if you're not laughing, even if you don't have any kind of expressions on your face, like if you're not showing any kind of expression, if you're just very serious, these lines that are on your face become more apparent and more sketched into the skin when we are getting into our 50s. So it becomes more obvious because it becomes more permanent. And again, depending on how you've cared for your skin, will make the difference. So with the lines, the same way, they become more permanent. The number 11s stand out more. The Gilliber lines, they become more deep and more sketched into the skin. This is what's happening with the skin when we are going into our 50s, in our 50s. The eyelids begin to droop more. In our 50s, they're not firm, they're not lifted up like they were when we were in, say, our 20s or 30s. So the skin is becoming looser at this point. So in our 60s, again, everything is becoming far more permanent, like the lines and everything is becoming more permanent. The skin's becoming more dry. if healing takes longer at this point, it takes longer for the skin to heal if it abstains any kind of injury to it. The skin becomes really dry, especially when we're talking about women who are, going through menopause. So the skin becomes really, really dry at this point, and the skin becomes dull looking. Even when we're going into our 40s and 50s, the skin becomes like looks dull. It becomes like the brightness and the radiance of the skin, the complexion begins to diminish, because it is not producing the oils and the sweat, and the melanocytes are, like they're disappearing, and the immunity of the skin is decreasing. So because of this, the luminosity of the skin is also decreasing. And so all of this is taking place as we age. This is aging skin, and this is how these are the signs, these are the things that are happening to the skin as we age. Around here, the nasal area, here, marinettes, these labial folds, marinettes, lines around the lips, lines around here, crow's feet around here become more permanent, lines on the forehead become more sketched in and more permanent. Number 11s, Gilbert lines, also become more permanent. Bunny lines when we laugh, more permanent. So there's more permanency on the skin. So, like I said, when you're in your 20s, you're not dealing with any of that. In your 30s, for the most part, like it's beginning, but still, it's just really, it's really, really minor. And that, depending on DNA, depending on your ethnicity, with some ethnicities, you're not even going to see that until you're probably in your late 40s and early 50s. And or how you care for your skin, it just depends. But in general, this is just in general how the skin ages in general. So for each person, it's going to be different, but in general, this is how the skin ages. And of course, it does. This is why 70% is external aging, 70%. So we do have a part in how we care for our skin. We can make a difference in how our skin ages and if it ages prematurely. If it doesn't age prematurely, we can keep our skin looking good longer than our age, longer than it is for our age group. So depending on how 70% of how our skin ages is in our control. It's in our hands. So depending on what we do with that, will determine how our skin will age. So wearing sunscreen is the number one. It's the number one thing in helping your skin to age gracefully. It is the best premature aging product on the market. It is the best, far better than retinol or anything else out there. Sunscreen for your skin is the number one product that you need to help slow down the process of aging. That is the number one product that every woman and man, for that factor, needs to slow down the process of aging. I didn't talk about like static whiteheads or static lines. So this normally happens from truck drivers. So when truck drivers, this is something that they've been doing for several years. And then as a result of that, like on the one side of their face, they have aging from the sun. So the skin becomes very tough looking, almost like alligator looking, in the quality and in the texture of it, because of the sun exposure. So that's another way of aging. Being in the sun, sunbathing will give you that type of skin as well. Smoking Smoking, like smoking, constantly smoking, that's something that will also age your skin prematurely. You want to age fast, smoke. That's going to get you there. So these are all the things. Well, this is how the skin ages, and these are the various ways in which the skin ages. Like I said, sunblock, sunscreen, number one, in helping to slow down the process of aging and to help your skin, prevent your skin from aging prematurely. So also out there, like retinol. Retinol, if you get it as a prescription, it is probably the best thing on the market for slowing down the process of aging. Even if like you've been using it for years and then you stop using it, it takes about a good 7 months before the changes that retinol made to your skin, and I'm talking about it in its purest form, begin to diminish from your skin. So 7 months after using it, your skin is going to retain the look that the retinol did for it. So there is no other product out there, no other drug out there on the market that is as powerful or as potent as retinol. So also, vitamin C. Vitamin C is great for photo aging, basically helping to reverse the aging, reverse your cells, reverse what the sun has done to your skin, and then also protect it from any kind of future damage that the sun and any kind of environmental things coming at it will do. So vitamin C is good for that. So reversing the signs, reversing what the sun already has done to the skin, the damage that it has caused, but then also protecting it from future damage, as well as brightening the skin, giving it luminosity. Vitamin C is great. Vitamin E is also great. Vitamin E is great for healing, repairing the skin, and actually, vitamin C and vitamin E together are very powerful in what they do for the skin. Because vitamin E is good for healing and good for nourishing the skin as well. So then we also have peptides. Peptides great for especially like dermis, like for the dermis skin at the dermis level. So when we're talking about the collagen, when we're talking about elastins, peptides are really good for strengthening and rejuvenating the dermis of the skin and helping it to keep protect it from deteriorating and keep it plump and tugger longer. So we also have that. So hyaluronic acid, perfect. We need the hydration, and without hydration, that's one of the ways in which the signs of aging will show up on the skin. So dry skin produces fine lines. A continuation of dry skin produces deep lines. So fine lines, superficial lines will turn into deep lines if they are not cared for. So hydration is a great way of embracing that or preventing fine lines from happening. If there are fine lines, then it's erases what is already on the skin and then helps to fill that. So also great AHAs with the whole exfoliation of the skin, the whole turnover of the skin, the cellular turnover, helping to slough off dead skin faster, so that we can regenerate new skin at a faster rate. So this is another way to help in keeping our skin, or actually pushing away, starving off premature aging of our skin. So this is another great way. So with vitamin A, sorry, with vitamin C, you can also get that in drug form, vitamin E as well. With that, you're going to apply those first because they're not creams. So these are actual, like these are prescriptions, these are drugs. And so they have to go on the skin first in order to do the work that they need to do. Then after that, then you're going to apply like all your other skincare products as well. So like there are the prescription drugs, which are really powerful. In doing what they do to help the skin. Then, like I mentioned, you can also get those. Just the drugs that I mentioned. You can also find those in dermatologist tested products as well as prestige products. So you're also going to find those in smaller dosages. In those ranges, and those are another great way. Those products actually work as well, both of them, derm and prestige. You've got some great ranges from great brands that really work in helping to starve off the signs of aging if you continue using them and taking care of your skin. These are some of the ways that we can help to diminish premature aging of our skin by like investing in products. Like I said, you can either get a prescription. You would have to go to your dermatologist in order to get a prescription for the drugs that I mentioned, or you could go in the derm department. There are some really great brands in derm that have really great products for aging skin, as well as prestige. They have really great products as well out there to help starve off, aging skin as well. I'm trying to think. And I did mention AHAs and then of course just your whole skincare routine that you're going to have with cleansing, double cleansing if you're wearing makeup, so double cleansing in the evenings, and then just one cleanse in the morning, and then your toner, and then after your toner, then you're going to use a whole other bunch of products depending on what you care to use. There's boosters, there's essences, there's and then after that we have the serum, which you should be using, and then the eye cream, and then the moisturizer, and of course always your sunscreen, always sunscreen, because, and especially if you're using the prescription drugs that I mentioned, you will need to use sunscreen. But sunscreen is your number one. Sunscreen is the number one anti-aging product that every person needs, man or woman. Everyone needs a sunscreen in order to starve off premature aging and protect your skin also from, like all the other damages that UVA or UV rays can do to it, like cause cancer and even like sunspots. And so sunscreen, always a sunscreen. That's all I have to bring to you for this segment of a Skincare Minute. Until we speak again, take care.